The abuse is not just for Africans on the continent, the abuse is for black people wherever you find us. I'm going to share with you some basic facts. You don't expect those who put us in a position of servitude to undo the damage. They will continue it for as long as we are stupid enough to continue to listen to their lies. Wake up, Africa. Wake up, black people around the world. Africa is your problem. Own it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. For Africa to change, for you to be able to benefit from what is yours. What's in Africa is the inheritance of every black person on earth. But if you're stupid enough to listen to the lies, and while
Africa and her children all across the world are waking up. You know, Africa might have been freed from slavery, but Africans and melanated people all across the world, we are still slaves from mental slavery. As Bob Marley's son, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. If you're new to this channel, my name is Joel Mugisha. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe, drop me a comment and tell me what you think about today's episode. So guys, on today's episode, we dive into a very powerful speech of Dr. Arikana. And she's speaking about the defeated mindset of melanated people all across the world. And Africa and all the black nations in the Caribbean, we need to wake up and emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. So if you're a melanated person all across the world, if you are a black man, if you are an African all over across the world, then this message is for you. So guys, let's dive into today's video and then we're gonna talk about this.
the abuse is not just for Africans on the continent, the abuse is for black people wherever you find us. I'm going to share with you some basic facts. You see, our story is a simple one. Our story is of truth and facts, which are two constants that do not change. And all we need to do is give the world an overdose of our truth and insist on it. As we speak today, I'm going to take you back centuries, long before the children of Africa were taken out of Africa as slaves. There was some serious resistance when the occupiers from the West came to Africa, contrary to what some might think. They didn't just give up their children, but the fighting began long before slavery. And the resistance was those who led them, the majority of them, their heads, as we speak today, are sitting in jars in Europe. Are you aware of that? Our leaders, our ancestors who fought the wars of resistance, their heads, their remains are sitting in jars throughout Europe. And the same people have the audacity to come to Africa and talk to us about human rights. But what's even more disturbing is that we entertain them and we don't remind them of these skeletons in their closet. As we speak today, the priceless artifacts that they stole from all over Africa are sitting in their museums throughout Europe. And when you and I, when we visit Europe, we pay to see what belongs to us. Evidence of theft, evidence of murder on display in plain sight. As we speak today, black people are listed as 3/5 of a human being in the US Constitution. As we speak today, The redlining continues. As we speak today, African countries are being made to pay ridiculous interest rates on loans that they should not be paying for.
Correct.
As we speak today, reparations are due. Everybody else has been given reparations, expect us. The question then becomes, what is wrong with this picture? Why aren't you and I standing up and demanding that what is right must be done? I can tell you why. Because no other race would stand for a minute what is being done to us. How long do you think a finger of a British soldier lasts in Zimbabwe? How long do you think a thumb of a German soldier lasts in Namibia? Not even a minute. They would storm in, kill hundreds if not thousands of people just to recover that one finger. Why is it that we are unable to come together and speak our truth and demand that what needs to be done must be done? It's because they defeated us where it matters the most, which is the mind. It started with the missionaries in Africa long before slavery. They were sent by the Roman Catholic Church to subdue the Africans, make them believe that when you get slapped, turn the other cheek, and that your riches are in heaven. So by the time they followed with the colonizers to reap and rape Africa, we were already brainwashed. We were meant to believe everything African was bad and undesirable, and everything European was better. And the same brainwashing continued as our children were taken out of Africa enslaved. It continued on the plantations, color gradations, light-skinned versus dark-skinned, field workers versus kitchen workers. To this day, we suffer from the legacy of slavery and the legacy of colonization. For how long are we going to continue to suffer from this affliction? For it is singularly the reason why we are not able to come together just like other races and nationalities have done in this melting pot that is the United States of America. When you ask for the voices of the Irish Americans loud and clear, Jewish Americans loud and clear, German Americans, Italian Americans, Chinese Americans, Indian Americans, their voices are loud and clear. But when you ask for the voices of us black people, you might as well go to the graveyard, because we are missing in action. We were taught, we were brainwashed into not even loving ourselves as individuals, let alone each other. We were taught not to trust one another. We were taught not to believe that my brother can, my sister can, but somebody else who doesn't look like you and I is better. The question I have for all of you, just close your eyes and think about your children, your grandchildren. Is this the world you want to leave behind for them? If the answer is no, then you need to have a serious conversation with the image in the mirror. Because it is the image in the mirror that must change. It is the image in the mirror that must understand that you are sick from this affliction of the legacy of slavery. You are not sick at home. You are not sick in the doctor's waiting room. You are not sick in the hospital ward. You are sick in the intensive care. How long are we going to continue to support other people's agendas? Those who stood up to fight during the civil rights movement, during the Pan-African days in Africa, civil rights in the United States, they were all silenced. We are emerging out of a period of 20 to 30 years where just nothing is going on. We are all fast asleep. When are we going to wake up? Reverend Al Sharpton is saying, the time to wake up is now. Reparations now. We know all the companies that benefited from slavery. We have their name. We have the list. They must pay. As we speak, many have pledged their contributions. Guess what's going to happen, my brothers and sisters? Because we are not organized, we will never realize those funds. And they will hide behind, oh, they are disorganized. They don't know what they are doing. I am now going to be asking Reverend Al Sharpton to lead us as we demand those reparations. We need to register a global Pan-African fund that can make sure that we have development in black communities where it belongs. Those funds must be organized. Those funds must be paid for. Reparations for black people now. You don't expect those who put us in a position of servitude to undo the damage. They will continue it for as long as we are stupid enough to continue to listen to their lies. Wake up, Africa. Wake up, black people around the world. Africa is your problem. Own it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. For Africa to change, for you to be able to benefit from what is yours. What's in Africa is the inheritance of every black person on earth. But if you're stupid enough to listen to the lies, and while they continue to exploit your Africa, while they continue to amass wealth for their children, grandchildren, and generations to come, then the joke on you. Why are we still going to the United Nations as Africans? That is a useless entity. It's not for us. The largest voting bloc in the United Nations are the African nations. We don't have a seat on the table. Why do we go there? We go to the United Nations to vote on their issues. They pay African countries, oh, vote with us on this issue, vote with us on this issue. We have no business going to the United Nations, period. We need to tell Secretary Guterres, thank you very much, but we're no longer going to attend United Nations. It's not our entity. Until we have true representation. Goodbye. Why is it that the richest continent on earth, the go-to place for the world, is painted as the poorest? And I am not going to mince my words. The truth of the matter is the world needs Africa. Africa does not need the world. We have everything we need on earth. We could paralyze the world economies. Take a simple thing. Like we decide DRC can no longer export its coltan. That alone can paralyze the world. So rather than us Africans concentrating on the issues that matter, concentrating on issues that we need to take home, like telling France that 500 billion you're taking out of Africa every year, no more. France needs to be the third world developing country, not Africa. We were way ahead of them in our civilization. They set out to destroy us. And Berlin Conference put the nail on that coffin. So they gave Djibouti the same sovereignty as the United States. They gave Burundi the same sovereignty as China. They gave Togo. You see, the EU realizes individual little countries, they can't survive on the world stage. So they come together as the European Union. Now picture this now. So they cut up this Africa into the tiny little countries, small economies that could never survive on their own, but gave them the same sovereignty as the big boys. So that way, when the little bitty countries go to the world stage for the purposes of development and discussing trade, they're wannabe boxers who are being thrown into the heavyweight boxing ring every day. IMF, World Bank, all other institutions, they make African countries jump through hoops. Loans will never be able to pay. The US, when they borrow money, they're getting it in 1.5, 1.9 interest rate. Africans, when they get the same amount of money, they're paying 9, 10%. The people who don't need a break, they get a break. The ones who need a break, they don't get a break. The sheer survival of the World Bank, IMF, is based on the fact that African countries and many other developing countries do not succeed. Their success is based on our failure. That has to change. And guess who can make that change? We, the children of Africa. The most dangerous African of today is an African who is colonized. Educated or not, what is our education doing to us? What have we done to undo the colonial education? I hear right here in Ghana, perfect example. There's not a single Kwame Nkrumah book that is required reading in the Ghanaian educational system. Whose problem is that? Most African countries, our educational system is still the colonial educational system. So what do you expect from the leaders that we have today if their education remains colonized? It is the educated who are refusing to challenge the status quo and speak on our behalf, educated or not.
These are powerful words from Dr. Arikana. Africa is actually waking up. Her children are speaking left, right, and center. But most of the people who actually are trying to speak the truth about Africa, their voices end up not being heard. I've seen the problem with melanated people all over the world. We have been deceived into thinking that our melanin skin is inferior to the palm-colored people. We have been deceived to think that we are the inferior people on this planet. But all the melanin-colored people, you need to wake up, because you have a history that has been tampered with within all the history of human race. Africa is finally waking up. And one thing I can say, melanated people across the world, I've seen the problem. Many melanated people are not proud of their skin color. They're not proud of their African ancestry. Why? Because of the atrocities that have been done against melanated people all across the world. They have actually tampered with our history. It is high time melanated people all across the world wake up and emancipate yourself from mental slavery, because that is the slavery that is actually still chaining the melanated people across the world. We need to wake up, because we have the truth in our faces. Melanated people all across the world, you need to wake up. And that includes people on the continent of Africa. Because if a continent like Europe has actually known that it cannot survive on the world stage alone, and it united to form the EU that now can sit with the big boys on the table and be able to negotiate the best interest of our people. Why not Africa? Why can't you unite? Let's have the United States of Africa, or let's have the United States of West Africa, United States of Southern African states, United States of East African states, United States of North African states, because alone we cannot, but together we are stronger. So I appeal to you, melanated people all across the world watching this, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, because mental slavery is the cancer to the melanated people across the world right now. And those of you who have finally woken up from the matrix and have known and realized the truth, it is high time that we need to speak out that truth. We need to speak out our story so that everybody, even our generations to come, they can know the truth and stand from a position of truth so that we can build a better future for melanated people, not only in Africa, but across all the world, in the Caribbean, in Africa, and all over the world. This is Joel Mugisha, your presenter today. Please, guys, comment and tell me what you think about this powerful speech. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think about it on the comment section. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, kindly consider subscribing. Give this video a like and share. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next time, see you on the next episode.